Hello everyone, my name is Vera and we are the Garnet group. The subregion that we are going to focus on is Svalbard.
Hello, my name is Quinn, and Svalbard can be found just north of Norway and east of Greenland. The name Svalbard means cold shores, and rightfully so. As it is located in the Arctic polar zone, temperatures on Svalbard rarely reach above 10 degrees Celsius. As per this climate chart, Svalbard thrives in the cold, within 30 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. This constant cold temperature is reinforced by the location of the islands being well within the polar cell. Polar bears are known to love this cold and exceed in numbers compared to the human population. Because polar bears rule the islands, there is a law requiring humans to carry a gun on them at all times. Because of the constantly extremely cold temperatures, no one is allowed to be born or pass away on Svalbard. If either is to happen, they are safely relocated to the mainland of Norway. My focus is ice cores. Ice cores are a great way to look at past climates. They trap small particles and gas bubbles as seen in Figure 4. Cores can range from a few meters to 2 kilometers in length, and are broken and taken to labs to be inspected. Scientists can see obvious layers, like in Figure 32, where there's a layer of volcanic ash. The ice is cut into small pieces, and using a mass spectrometer, the ice melts and the gases are analyzed. Since the Industrial Revolution, ice has been melting at faster rates. The increase in CO2 in the atmosphere is lowering pH levels in new ice, so it's melting at a faster rate. Figure 26 shows the rising acidity levels for 2 of the glaciers on Svalbard. Several types of pollutants showed up in ice, most of them being pesticides or small coal particulates from the few mines in and around Svalbard. Fly ash, which is gray, powdery ash that usually comes from coal furnaces, is more abundant in the upper parts of the glaciers because of the reopening of the coal mines on Svalbard. But coal particles have a particular shape, so scientists can look at the other shaped ashes to help determine outside contaminants. One of the biggest pesticides seen in the newer ice is methylparathion, which is supposed to have a half-life of 0.2 days, but because of the high amounts used in Europe, is appearing more frequently. With all of this ice melting, there are some changes in plant life in the area as well.
With Svalbard's dry and sub-zero temperatures, there is little room for trees to grow as big as the ones in California. Svalbard's climate conditions leave them to grow mere inches off the ground. The polar willow and the dwarf birch are just 2 examples of smaller tree life on the islands. Polar willow's tree rings can be measured, which shows us the precipitation levels of Svalbard and the health of the trees. In doing so, this provides data for dendrochronology research on the islands. As for the dwarf birch, it can grow up to 20-30 centimeters tall. Dwarf birches have consistently been maintaining a taller height. This difference in plant size can serve as reliable paleoproxy records that record the positive impacts on growth due to the increase in temperature. Cloudberries are a perfect example of the changing climate in Svalbard. Cloudberries are a short plant 7 to 25 centimeters tall. They bloom white flowers and each produce a single orange, amber-colored berry. Cloudberries have never existed on the archipelago of Svalbard, but made their debut last year. The temperature has warmed up to a more consistent 50 to 54 degrees Fahrenheit for them to grow happily. Although the climate warms, the cloudberries are still on the watch list for species extinction. Warm summers can actually kill the plant. The official Norwegian Red List of Threatened Species includes a long list of the impacted species of plants that are going extinct because of the changing climate. This includes drying grasses and some flowers. As we progress, more people need to be aware of the way climate change can impact plant life in Svalbard, not just on land, but also in the ocean.
Hi, my name is Rhiannon. The vast Arctic coastline's climate changes rapidly. It is a vulnerable place for positive feedback processes such as ice albedo, temperature lapse rate, and water vapor. This means that warming in the Arctic is at a much greater rate than the average global warming. To monitor the rate of climate change in the Arctic, researchers use marine flora, a paleoproxy form of the climate record. Marine flora, including microalgae and kelp, is essential to study since they play a vital role in the marine food chain. When the ocean's temperature rises, we look at how changes in light, temperature, and nutrients can affect the growth factors for vegetation. This also suggests that there will be a potential for an expansion of marine vegetation. A study of the microalgae was conducted to see the difference in species diversity. The findings are as follows. Intertidal macrozoobenthos and phytobenthos sampled in 1988 were also sampled in the same area using similar methods later in 2007 to 2008. The number of all intertidal species doubled. Svalbard also has kelp forests that scientists have kept tabs on to see the effects of climate change. A group of researchers in Svalbard repeated a quantitative diving study that took place in 1996 to 1998. Redone in 2012 to 2014, they dove in the kelp forest at Hansneset Kongsfjorden at a depth gradient between 0 and 15 meters. They found that the kelp depth had moved to shallower depths due to many environmental factors, including a lack of ice scoring. So what does this mean for the future? Researchers expect that over time, marine vegetation will stimulate and expand to vegetation found on the coast of boreal latitudes. This means that not only marine flora will have to adapt to the temperature change, but other species that derive in the water will have to learn how to overcome this change as well.
Hello, my name is Avery Dana. My focus is plankton in the Svalbard region. Plankton provides a key component in marine life, and without plankton, the marine food chain shifts, which may cause harm to sea life. Having lots of different kinds of plankton in the water is a great sign because that means the food chain is on track and the marine life is not being affected too terribly. However, without plankton, marine life will have to migrate to other locations that they are not adapted to, compete with other sea life, which could have major effects in marine species populations. There are not many completed studies about plankton in polar areas. However, there are current studies that are underway that should soon provide us important information about how plankton are changing. Though what we do know is that along the California coast, there are more phytoplankton in the oceans, according to scientists who have been studying the changes in the oceans. Plankton perform almost 50% of the photosynthesis on the planet, and it's estimated that phytoplankton are a main source of Earth's oxygen. Plankton are able to be used to find out how climate is shifting by using the rings that get embedded into their shells just like tree rings. Microbioplankton grow in the ocean waters and constantly collect chemicals and microbacteria on their shells, causing scientists to be able to tell what is happening to the temperature of the ocean. For example, oceans have absorbed 40% of all carbon emissions based on studies that use plankton. When plankton die, they fall to the ocean floor where scientists are able to recover these plankton and study them based on the bacteria and rings that have accumulated in their shells. Growth bands on slower growing plankton are able to show variations of ocean temperatures dating back 30 million years. Generations of phytoplankton in Svalbard are all dependent on the amount of life these plankton get and the nutrients around them, which is also the cause of plankton populations dwindling in Svalbard.
Svalbard is being affected by climate change caused by humans. The ice is getting more acidic and melting faster. Many of the native grasses and flowers are going extinct. Kelp forests are being forced to move closer to land to try and survive. Plankton populations are shrinking because of a lack of nutrients. Svalbard is a great place to examine past climates, but if nothing is done now to try to preserve it, then it will disappear.